Hello and welcome to Coach Replay. My name is Kim Ramadan, and we also have Cory here and my friend Nick, who is from Leading Educators. I am so excited for this conversation, Nick, but please first introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for inviting me. My name is Nick Cains. I am a director of adult learning at Leading Educators. And what that means for my work right now is that I support all of our coaching work and all of our projects, and I coach coaches directly.
So I love Nick and his team. We became fast friends this year as we started working together in Sydney. And one of the things that we talked a lot about was our AI reports that you can run. Nick was right away so excited about the ability to run these reports. And so today we're going to have a conversation about what you're excited about, because AI is out there. People have heard about it. They're using it in all sorts of different ways. But in education, I think people are still trying to figure it out. And when we show them what our platform is capable of, there's always this wow factor. So I'm excited to talk to you about what you're excited about. But first, one of the things we talked about in preparing for this show was the elephant in the room that may exist when it comes to AI, and maybe a little bit of trepidation, for lack of a better word. So let's just put it all out there. What might people be concerned about, rightfully so, and how can we kind of ease those concerns? What do we think?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we get to start there too, because I think fear is very normal.
Yep.
And I feel the same thing. So we
Yep.
could all Google AI or misuse of AI in education and find a lot of content about what could happen if we lose autonomy and we're just starting to just use AI or misuse it in a way that we are no longer making human decisions in education.
Yes.
That is
Oh, we love
scary.
that.
That is not what I think anyone wants, because I think the best part of education is the humans in education
Mhm.
and the human decisions that we make. The thing that I started to think about and started to become critical of is, all right, if it's going to be there, we're getting the technology for AI. It's in everything from our like performance management to ordering your coffee drinks. Like you can put AI on anything to make decisions for you. So if it's
Yep.
there, is there a way to make it helpful or a more make us more efficient? And
Ah,
so what it makes me think about is, all right, I know I don't want to lose my autonomy as a coach. There are
yeah.
also things that are time consuming that if I can get extra data that is helpful for me and teachers or me and coaches, great. Then I'll use AI for those things to put
Yeah.
stuff in my little knapsack. And then I will decide what to do with all of this extra data that I would, I guess, normally have to take on my own.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And we are going to get into all those things that you're excited about. Cory, one of the things that we talked about a lot when AI, because I was nervous too. I
Hmm.
was nervous that AI was going to be one of those things that was used as a gotcha for teachers, for our leaders, and that teachers would be like, no, I don't want this. And I certainly don't want to be associated with AI or SIDME. And we talked about this a lot. So Cory, yeah, any thoughts about that? Because we
Yeah,
did have a lot of conversations on the onset.
we did. And I get the privilege of being able to be part of the amazing product and development team here at SIDME as we've been designing some of these AI tools. They've been working on it for years. So I really came on at the kind of end as we're getting ready to release it. But that was a lot of the conversations here at Sydney was how do we make sure that this is really a tool at the heart of Sydney? We are here for the teachers. And how do we make sure this is a tool for the teachers that make the teachers feel comfortable, that provide them the autonomy, but also, some safeties and securities around their data, how they want their data seen, so that they can use this objective data to really make conversations and growth happen for their students, for themselves. And so, all of that falls into kind of the heart of the platform of Sydney with these private places where you can do these things privately just for myself. And then if I've got a question, I can share it with a coach, or I can share something with a coach, and the coach and I together run the AI report. And um, the other pieces that you'll see on these reports that Sydney has is there's no judgment. There's no like red line and, oh, you've crossed it. You're talking too fast. You have too much talk time. There's no
Mhm.
judgment in it. Is strictly data in context of a snapshot, a recording, of audio recording of instruction. Or I think we're going to talk today. Nick saw the same potential that Kim and I saw in being able to flip this and use it on me as a coach. And what data does this give me about my coaching and
Yeah.
how I'm fostering learning? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of ways that we can make teachers feel safe and each other is say, I'm doing this too. Like I'm
yeah,
going to put myself out here and I'm going to learn along with you. So let's dig in. So we
yeah.
really have three things that you were super excited about. And the first bucket is really what can AI do in terms of enhancing teacher feedback and the types of feedback that we are giving teachers. So we'll show a little bit of what that can look like on the screen too. But Nick, tell me a little bit about what you're excited about when it comes to teacher feedback and what's possible with AI reports.
Absolutely. One of the first things I started thinking about is the gathering of low inference data in seconds, in minutes,
Mm-hmm.
because with my current role, like I've been a classroom, kind of a classroom coach before, but right now I'm working with other coaches. And I heard someone just a few days ago when we were having a conversation, I heard someone that they're coaching, a teacher, say, you know what I really want? I really want more data on like how much am I talking? I feel like I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting for my students, and I don't know if I'm doing. Can you help me out with that? They were asking the coach, and they said something about their questioning. Like, I want to know about my questioning too. I'm so excited that I started thinking, oh, I can't wait to talk to you about Sydney, coach.
Yep.
Because if this teacher will allow you to take just a couple of minutes of video, you can get a quick snapshot of what's the percentage of talk time that this teacher had versus the students and how much silence was there in that little 20-minute snapshot. Now we know that's not everything, but how interesting for me if I was a teacher to get a quick snapshot of, oh, that's about how much I was talking. Also, with those closed questions and open-ended questions, I was fascinated because I started thinking about my own practice as a teacher. And we know, all teachers know, we want to get kids thinking. We want to ask all types of questions. Where we're talking about math, talking about ELA, all the subjects. We want kids to be thinking, and it kind of starts with my prompts. It starts with what am I actually saying to students, and to have a list or at least a starter list of here are the questions that AI picked up that seemed open. Here's the ones that seemed closed, and this is about the percentage of what you were saying. That is
Mm-hmm.
fascinating for me as
Yeah.
a teacher, for me as a coach, to go back and just quickly see and categorize. Oh, that was an open-ended question. That was a closed-ended question to students.
Mm-hmm.
Even those two, and there's 15 more reports, but those two things, I could already imagine what the coach I'm coaching could say to a
Mm-hmm.
teacher with this more information and give it, as Cory said, as just a thing. Give this as data to this teacher who's
Right.
already interested in it to see
Mm-hmm.
where do we go from here.
What I love about that, like that last bit that you said, is like it's data, it's AI. Like we know it's got a high level of accuracy. So Sydney, even without teachers running their biometrics, so we can listen for the teacher's voice and really discern it between that and all of the students talking in the video. Otherwise, it'll just kind of tag the primary speaker as the teacher label. It's still 80 to 95% accurate as long as you've got good audio and video quality. If you add those teacher biometrics in there, where they've kind of done the voice recognition in their user settings, it's even higher. But it is objective. And what I love about this is all of these reports are interactive. You can click on them to see the list of the questions and exactly when they happened. Or if I'm wondering, what was it that student two had to say here? Because that was kind of the largest chunk of their
Mm-hmm.
speak. When I click on it, it takes me right to that moment. So we can then like dice and analyze that particular piece. And this is that part that I think you said that I loved about the autonomy and the importance of keeping humans in education, whatever their role is, teacher, coach, leader. If this information's coming to me in a matter of minutes based off of the data I've loaded it on, then I can spend more time having those human conversations and doing the true coaching work. Coaching is not about collecting data and crunching numbers. It's about the conversations that we're having around that data. And I think that's
Yep.
just so powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll just add, not only do I know here, like who's talking, I can go to the minutes in terms of the video, but I also can look at the transcript and say, what exactly was said here, which really I think helps. It's important that that questions are being asked. We know what kinds of questions, open-ended, closed-ended. We can export all of that, but also how did the students respond? I think that's really important too. You can look at that in the video. You can also read it in the transcript and edit that as well. So many other reports too that we can look at. We have wait time. You ask that question, how long did you give students to respond? I used to sit in the back with a timer, like start, stop, start, stop. Now we don't have to do that anymore. It just makes it so much easier. And teachers are able to get this information readily. They don't have time to really look into all this data. The Flesch-Kincaid grade level is really interesting as well, which takes from the transcript. There are so many options here on what you can look at and how teachers can learn just from running this in their workspace all by themselves or sharing it with a coach like we've talked about.
Absolutely. Even something as simple as when you said transcript, I think about what most coaches may do. Go into any classroom, we sit there and we do columns of teacher actions, student actions, and we type it all out, or like furiously write what happened, how did they respond. I just saw like, oh my God, if I have a transcript, what else can I do while I'm in the classroom? Can I have a conversation with students about the content? Can I do some human work while I'm already collecting the student teacher interactions? If, with the good audio and of course, all of that, if I can trust that that's kind of happening, I don't have to just do that part, the low inference note taking as much.
Yeah. I work at a university here in Chicago, and my student teachers always lead me to the desk at the back of the room and say, here you go. And I say, oh, I'm not sitting there. Like, I will not be sitting there for the duration of your lesson. I will be, to your point, everywhere, because the video is here and it's catching the whole class. I will be talking to students. I will be engaging. And guess what? I'm also going to open up my Sydney app and record my conversations with students, because that's a learning experience as well. What do my conversations with students sound like when they're working independently or in a group, because the teacher's over here somewhere else, right? So there's that learning experience as well. So many things that teachers can learn, and ways that we can enhance their learning and their feedback. So some of the reports that we looked at were also can be geared probably to coaching conversations, right, Nick? Because sometimes, we were talking earlier, like, we need to learn too as coaches. I want to turn the camera on myself. I want to make sure that I'm in a learning space just like my teachers are. So how might AI help me as a coach after the lesson's been done? We're sitting and having like our post conversation, whatever you call it, debrief, whatever we're calling these things. And how can AI help with that conversation? What are your thoughts?
Well, a couple things. So one thing that I like is something that you all touched on earlier too, was it's giving me low inference data, but it's not interpreting. And so that goes for me as a coach as well. So the first thing that I'm thinking about is what is something I'm really interested in after a coaching conversation, where the object was not for me to do all the thinking and work, much like teachers do. They don't want to do all the work for students either, but to be in collaboration. One thing I want to know is how much did I do in terms of talking? So the same report that does the talk time on teachers, I run the same thing and look at it every conversation that I have with other people that I'm coaching. I want to see what was my percentage. Sometimes it's not as half and half, and that tells me something. It's not like Sydney judges me and says, do you know you spoke 67% of the time and they spoke 26 or something like that. Instead, it just gives me the data. This is how much we heard your voice. Oh, okay. And this is how much silence was in there. Now, as a coach, and if I'm working with someone else who's watching this with me, I can now interpret and think about what was the outcome then. With all of my conversation, I can look into it and go, oh, this was a conversation where I was doing a lot of the leading. Was that because I was taking a directive stance? Was that because I needed to fill some kind of gap or something like that? Or was I just doing too much? All right, cool. That's okay. Now we know.
Yeah, no, I know.
What?
Look at Cory here, though. I mean, her coachee in this case talked 73% of the time.
Let me
Oh
say, this
yes.
wasn't our first conversation. I'm also surprised
I
because
know each other pretty well. So I'm like,
usually,
oh, okay.
usually I'm the one talking 75% of the time. It's something I've been working on since I was in the classroom.
See? Growth,
But
growth, Cory.
I mean, let's just all take a moment to dazzle at Cory only spoke 20% of this video. It'll never
Wrap it
happen
up.
again.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that because again, like this was a Zoom debrief with this teacher. But yes, like who's doing the heavy lifting? That's exactly what I talk to my coaches about. What types of questions are being asked by whom and when? Like that's also important. Is my teacher coming to me with questions, or am I the only one bombarding them with those kind of reflective questions? Are they inviting me to think with them, or challenging me to think a little bit, or asking clarifying questions with me? Like what's happening within that time? So I think yes, we these are currently reports focused on teacher student interactions, and we are Sydney is working on, before I click run AI report, being able to say this is a classroom based lesson, this is a PLC, this is a coaching debrief, so then you'll get reports that are tailored to that scenario. That is something that's coming. It's a little more time, but in the
New
meantime
information, Nick. New
yeah,
information.
in the meantime, I can still go, okay, I'm the teacher here. This is the student here over here. And I mean, look at these open-ended questions to you. I just ran this report while y'all were talking. And so this is my first time seeing it. So
We can
it's,
analyze it together.
it's a great one, but,
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, feedback about your feedback, not just feedback about instruction, feedback on your feedback. I think that's just super, super valuable. And
Yeah.
I'm awful at taking notes because I'm trying really hard to be present and focused during the conversation. And just again, low inference note taking. What's the summary and key takeaways as from our lesson? What was the transcript so I can go back to those key moments? So powerful.
Yes, I thought that if you coach more than one person, especially, and most
Mm-hmm.
people usually that's usually the life. Maybe it's even more people. I've coached up to 25 to 30 people at a time. And
Mm-hmm.
the moment that you're trying to go back into you're seeing their classroom or coach them on something specific and trying to think back, where are my notes about the
Yep.
last time? And,
Yeah.
maybe you're extremely organized and you can get right back into thought process, but sometimes it's a lot. I can see the potential that I'm already starting to use of, let me just pop open my AI report really quick. I can go back and just look at our key takeaways. I can look at the summary of our conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
more so, I look at the transcript. I
Yeah.
go straight to the next steps part of our transcript. If I
Mhm.
can't remember the last things that we were talking about beyond the notes I even took, what was the exact thing they said they were working on? And what was
Yeah.
the exact
Mm-hmm.
conversation? I can
Yeah.
quickly go straight to that. One little nerdy thing too, I really like that you can go back to that section and then press play on it. I can go back and go, all right, I want to go to that moment. That's just
Yeah.
something I just love that I can do that. I can go back and
Mm-hmm.
press play on that. And beyond my own self reflection, in a coaching conversation with someone, I was able to, when we said, okay, so what are some highlights of this video? Instead of just saying, remember that part of the conversation when you said this to the teacher, I actually went to that section and played it. And I
Yeah.
played the 2 minutes so that we could talk about that moment and they could go back and go, oh, yeah, the conversation I had, that I remember that now. And they don't have to read it. I think that little feature is actually really helpful.
Yeah, really powerful. Just something very small rather than trying to search for it. And if you have to give, let's say that Nick, you have 25 teachers and you need to give somebody else, a third party, a summary of your coaching, you're able to easily do that by copying that text. And they don't need to have or should have access to all of that if they're outside of that partnership. So really useful stuff. I'm excited. We've had a lot of conversations about like how AI can enhance your coaching. I'm excited for those things to be applied and for us to come back, because Cory and I would love to come back and have a conversation with you, let's say end of year, and just see what you've used, and see what your reflections were. And honestly, like, how can we do better? You know, like, what can we do as a company to make this the best it can be? So all of that feedback we're looking forward to. So final thoughts, Nick, as we wrap up?
Final thoughts. I think that this is exciting. I love that I can try something and it's not just all right, I only use this and I'm only using this at someone, maybe. I'm using
Mm-hmm.
this only with teachers, but it's nothing really like for my own reflection. This totally feels like something that we can use with our educators, but also with the coaches for self-reflection. Fully a self-reflective tool and a coaching tool at the same time, because I want to keep growing with my teachers, my coaches that I'm working with anyway.
Love that. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Dr. Kim Coaching and Cory Camp Coaching. And Nick is also on LinkedIn. Follow him and all of his amazing work. We will have links to key takeaways and summaries, and we just really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.